Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint, and after nearly 2 years with the PlayStation Portal, I want to talk about if it's worth buying one in 2025, how I've been using mine both at home and away, and why you don't actually need a PS5 in order to use one. So last month I went away for a couple of weeks and decided to take the Portal with me to see how it would perform away from home. Like, would this thing easily connect to public and hotel Wi-Fi? Could it connect to my PS5 back at home? And what would the performance be like? And let me tell you that things didn't quite go to plan. Now, when the Portal first launched back in 2023, it was designed and marketed to be used as a PS5 streaming device, not a standalone console. This means it connects to your PS5 via remote play, and you can use the Portal while on the same Wi-Fi. Now, you can still do that today, and it allows you to essentially stream your PS5 from anywhere in your house. Now, this is how I use it most of the time, where I'll jump into a game that I'm happy to play while watching TV, or if my children are playing their own game on the TV. I can just grab this and play a game if I wanted to, so firing up something like Astrobot is the perfect example of a game that I have installed on the PS5, and I can play this without any issues. Now, in the early days, I did have connection problems where the signal would randomly drop out or the image would get so bad you could hardly see it. But over the years, PlayStation have pushed various updates since then to improve it. But basically, if your Portal or your PS5 is on Wi-Fi and you're getting these signal dropouts, it's normally down to the strength of your Wi-Fi rather than your download speed. My biggest advice is to make sure your PS5 is hardwired, and 9 times out of 10 you will have a far stronger connection. But how does this thing work away from home? Well, the best way to test this, for me at least, was to take it away with me on a 2-week trip to Gamescom in Germany, the Netherlands and France. So over the couple of weeks I got to use it in several hotels, different Wi-Fis, and I even used my phone's hotspot to see how it would work. And you know what? This worked far better than I was expecting. So firstly, when you're away from home, you might have experienced this yourself, that when you connect to a public Wi-Fi or a hotel Wi-Fi, it sometimes requires you to accept their T&Cs or create an account. Now, originally the Portal failed at this point because it doesn't have a web browser or a pop-up window, but shortly after launch this was patched with an update. This means when you try and connect to a public Wi-Fi or a hotel Wi-Fi, it will pop up with this QR code that you need to scan with your phone. From here, you then need to finish the setup on your phone and it will log you straight into the Wi-Fi on the Portal. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so now the Portal is on the Wi-Fi, I can connect to my PS5 back at home, whether that's my TV setup or the desk setup, simply by selecting the console that I want to use. And within about 30 seconds, I am in. Now remember that the PS5 does need to be in rest mode in order to connect to it. And once you do connect to it, it will power your PS5 on back at home. But this actually blew me away because right now I'm in a hotel in Paris, while my PS5 is obviously back at home in my living room in the UK. And I can see the dashboard and navigate around almost instantly. Okay, sure, remote play isn't new because we can already do this on our phone, laptop and iPad, but it's awesome seeing how good it works on the Portal. Now, of course, the advantage of using the remote play feature like this is you can play games that you've got installed on your PS5. So, for example, I've got GT7, Mafia and Gears of War. So anything that I've got installed digitally or downloaded from the store and the one disc that's installed can all be played as if I was sitting in the same room. Now, as for hotel speeds, as this might be something you want to know, here are the 3 results from the 3 different speeds that I checked. Okay, so the first hotel was in Paris and I was getting around 120 down and 97 up. Now, this is ridiculously fast for me because at home I only get around 60 to 70 down and 15 up. Then, while I was in Disneyland, this dropped quite a lot to 20 down and 20 up, but even with that drop, I was still able to connect and play games with very little stuttering or lag. And a final test that I did was using my mobile hotspot. Again, this is while I was in Disneyland, and here I was getting 80 down and just 2 up. Now, this proved to me that as long as I was getting at least 15 to 20 down and 2 to 5 up, my gameplay experience should be okay. Anything higher than that and you really shouldn't have any issues at all. And as you can see from the different gameplay that I've tested, including Cyberpunk and Spider-Man, the games played really well. But then disaster hit, and that's because my PS5 went offline and I could no longer connect to it. It turns out that upon booting GT7, the game crashed and actually shut my PS5 down. And when this happens, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it other than physically powering it back on. Now obviously I was in a completely different country and nobody else was at home, so I could not do this. So I guess without planning it, I'm now getting to show you a real life example of why exclusively using one of these to stream your PS5 can be a huge risk. Because if you ever had a power cut at home, your internet went off, or a game crashed your console, you can no longer connect or play your games until the console is powered back on. Whereas using a handheld where the games are stored locally would not be an issue. But fortunately there is another way, and this leads me on to using one of these without a PS5. And I don't just mean because you've turned it off or you've lost connection to your PS5, I'm talking you don't need one at all. And that's because the Portal now supports cloud gaming. So you can power it on and play games by streaming them from the cloud instead of your PS5. So once you've enabled the beta toggle in the settings, you'll now have this option to either connect to your PS5 or use the cloud gaming. And in here we've got the full list of games which are included with the PS Plus games library. Just note though that in order to use or play these games, you need to have an active PlayStation Plus premium subscription. So these are not free games to play. But what's great about this is if you've ever played these games before, or you've got game saves in the cloud which is part of the PS Plus subscription, you can jump straight in where you left off. So all of your progress and trophies are carried over and you'd never know you were playing from the cloud. Now from my testing and gaming over the few days, this was a far better gaming experience than streaming directly from the PS5, where the PS5 would drop the odd frame or lag a little now and again. Playing via cloud gaming was almost perfect, and that's because it's relying on the internet connection at the hotel and not needing to connect to my home Wi-Fi and the PS5. So once again, I played a few different games including Spider-Man and Cyberpunk, and honestly, the fact that I'm sitting in a hotel in Paris, being able to stream this straight to the Portal is just awesome. Yes, of course I can do this via Xbox Cloud Gaming or on my ROG Ally. But if I wanted to play these games via PlayStation and collect trophies as I go, this is a great way to do it. But can I just add that it is not perfect, and that's because there are a few restrictions with cloud gaming. Firstly, you need to be a PlayStation Plus premium subscriber to even unlock cloud gaming, and then you are limited to playing just the games in the PS Plus catalogue. Now don't get me wrong, the library of games is pretty impressive. We've got Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk 2077, Assassin's Creed and the new Sword of the Sea. But you will not be able to play your purchased library of games this way, or play anything that's not in the catalogue. So for example, take the new Mafia the Old Country or Gears of War games. Unless these get added to the catalogue, you cannot play them via cloud gaming, only via the PS5 remote play. But technically speaking, you don't need a PS5 to play the PlayStation Portal. You just need a subscription, an internet connection, and you're good to go. As for the input delay and the lag, it's not bad. I did see a slight input delay as I was moving around, and I found that switching the games over to performance mode instead of fidelity or quality is the better option. And using this for story-driven games or anything that doesn't require lightning-fast reactions like in FPS or online games, it is a great device to use it with. But I'm not sure I could recommend the PlayStation Portal for jumping into games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, as the input delay is definitely noticeable and would likely end up with you having a rough time playing. But let me quickly run through the things that I like about it. I love the 8-inch 1080p display. This feels like the perfect size to game on. The DualSense controller features are great and it feels really nice to hold. There are no complaints there. I also like the performance and the inbuilt speaker, so I don't have to use headphones while gaming. And it's also an easy pick up and play device for just jumping into any games when I don't want to play on the TV. But there are a few things that I don't like or things that I want to see improved. So firstly, it doesn't have Bluetooth, so you cannot use your own headset or your earbuds. You need to use the Pulse Elite or the Pulse Explorer with it. I also wish that we could play our own library of purchased games. I think this is eventually going to happen, and when it does, this will change this device completely. I also don't like the fact that you cannot stream movies or TV shows, whether that's via an app on the Portal or via remote play on the PS5. It simply doesn't work. Again, if that was allowed, this would turn this into the perfect streaming device for games and movies. Otherwise, if you use the Portal for what it's designed to do, which is to stream games or remote play, it is a perfect little device. Now, it will never be able to do offline gaming because of the lack of internal storage, but for streaming, it is honestly not a bad device. I still use mine and it is perfect for continuing games and collecting those trophies on the move or in a different room in the house. But let me know if you've got one of these or if you've learned something new today that you didn't know already. Now drop a nice PlayStation Portal in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out this video next. Well, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and follow me everywhere. Until next time.